Reena, Jadhav here at SplashX Invent Health. We're at UCSF, and I have with me someone very exciting that I know all you founders out there are going to want to listen to. Eva Borden of Cigna. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So very excited to have you because one of the challenges that a lot of founders have is working with providers and payers. And so you're here to spill secrets, am I right?
I will try.
So let's start with, why does Cigna care about behavioral health?
So if you think back maybe 3 years ago, there wasn't a lot of talk in the marketplace about behavioral health. It all focused on medical. If you think about what's driving medical spend,
right,
you're going to have clients coming to you and saying, it's obesity, it's
right,
oncology, it's specialty drugs. And now, in the not too distant past, what we started realizing was actually a huge driver of medical spend is your behavioral health spend.
Yeah.
And it's not just a spend, it's a diagnosis. So if I think about if you have two people who have the same medical condition and one of them has a behavioral health condition, that person will cost 2 to 3 times more in medical costs.
And why is that?
Oftentimes it relates to the comorbidities. And so when you think about, if I'm not adherent to medication, I'm not choosing the best site of care, I'm struggling to get to my doctor, there's a variety of reasons, but unlocking what's causing that is actually a big piece that we're trying to figure out and solve. And so when I think about why Cigna cares so much, we've now said our foundation, actually our new brand campaign, entirely focuses on mind and body. If you don't connect the mind and the body, we'll never be successful at controlling medical trend.
That is absolutely true. Having gone through 2 medical crises myself, it all starts in the mind. Healing starts in the mind, that decision to, I will do whatever it takes. I will take, to your point, I will take the medications, or I will not eat sugar, or whatever those decisions are. Clearly it starts up there. So thank you for recognizing that. And now, what kind of budgets does Cigna have? I mean, how do you decide at a strategy level how much are you going to invest in this space?
So a lot of it depends on what kind of return we believe we're going to get from that. So there isn't a set amount that we say, okay, we're going to set aside X millions of dollars to invest in this.
Okay.
But a lot of it says, what is actually going to help us achieve the broader goal?
Got it.
So it could be, if I think about driving greater affordability, it could be affordability of behavioral health care, and it could also be greater affordability of medical care. That's a big piece. Quality, extremely hard to measure in the behavioral health space.
Yeah.
And so what are those innovation and technology companies that are coming through and saying, we have a way to measure quality in a new and different way? Because unlike the medical world, where I have blood, urine, and tissue samples I can take to know if you're getting better, behavioral health is totally different. And so it can be, the third piece is really from an access perspective. So is there an opportunity to increase access? And I think as we continue to see technology evolve, the whole idea that I have to go to a brick and mortar place, sit in front of a therapist for 50 minutes in order to effectively get treated, doesn't actually exist anymore.
So 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're very excited clearly then about the digital therapeutics that are coming out. So how do you evaluate? Walk us through, because I think for a lot of people it's a black hole. Like, we don't know how this works. So for those entrepreneurs that are saying, how do I get my brilliant technology that can help you measure quality better? Who do I approach at Cigna, and what does that process look like?
Oh, that's a challenging one, because unfortunately it's not something that's just crystal clear. There's a number of different ways that we actually partner with technology companies. Some of them could be through a venture fund. We have a Cigna venture perspective where we might choose to partner, that we'll say this is a mutually beneficial situation, and so we're going to partner together on this journey. Others we might say we're going to pilot. So from a vendor type relationship, we feel like you're the right person, you're the right company for us to pilot with. And there's some, mix in between. When I think about what that looks like, it really goes back to understanding what is the value across the ecosystem when it comes to delivering healthcare. So it's one of those pieces that if sometimes I've seen a lot of technology companies that solve for a provider issue, solve for a client issue, solve for a customer issue, but they're not really understanding how do all of those actually work together, and be able to say, all right, the bigger, broader piece isn't just did I decrease depression, it's did I decrease depression and effectively take cost out of the system. When you start putting all those pieces together, then it becomes a more meaningful conversation. So when I think about advice I would give to some of the newer companies out there, it's how do you put together your business case in such a way that you're considering the impacts to all the stakeholders and figuring out how can you advance the greater cause as opposed to just the piece that you may be going after in a point solution.
Got it. And what does that timeline look like? So someone approaches, let's say, the venture fund or an executive, and they're like, great, come on in, do a presentation. What's the time frame these days? Because I'm sure you've got lots of incoming deals to go from this is the company we're all meeting to this is the company we're going to proceed with.
So I think when you're meeting with a really large payer like a Cigna, it can often take a long time just because there's a tremendous amount. We take privacy very, very seriously. And so that's often when you're talking in the behavioral health space, especially, you're not just talking about HIPAA anymore. You've got 42 CFR Part 2. You have other hurdles and requirements that are higher than in other areas. So that's a big piece. From a timeline perspective, it can take a few months to greater than 18 plus months.
Okay.
So it depends on what you want your solution to do and what kind of information you need to share, not share, how effectively you can be standalone versus needing to be more integrated. So like I said, it can go anywhere from a few months to the better part of 18 months.
Okay. Give an example of a company that you've recently partnered with that you absolutely love.
Oh gosh, there's a few. So I think one that's actually going to be here today is Happify.
Oh yeah.
So Happify, the nice part is they actually had the two-part experience where when we were originally looking at resilience and trying to say how can we help those people. So if I step back and say the solution that they're trying or the problem they're trying to solve is, according to the CDC, only 17% of US adults are in optimal mental health.
Yeah.
83% have an opportunity.
It's shocking.
All of us.
It's shocking.
But of that, only about 20 to 25% have a diagnosable mental health condition, which means the majority of people just need help dealing with life stressors, dealing with what's going on. That's normal.
Exactly.
And so a lot of what Happify does is says, how can we step into that space and help the people that are struggling with resilience? So when Cigna started embarking upon that, we started piloting with them and had a chance to pilot with some national accounts and say what kind of, how do we feel about the results?
Okay.
We had some really positive results back from an experience perspective.
Okay.
And then leveraging that, we said, okay, we know they're a reputable company that's been around now for a little while. We know what their solution is. We know it's provided the right type of experience. And so based on that, we're now going to implement it, and it's now available to over 4 million of our customers.
That's amazing. I love Happify. You mentioned you looked at results.
Yes.
And I think one of the biggest challenges in behavioral health is results. How do you measure results? A lot of it is, I think, self-declared results, like I'm not feeling good, now I'm feeling good, or the little happy faces from, different levels of smiliness. How did you measure Happify? What did you do? Surveys? Talk a little bit about that.
So a lot of it for us actually focused on Net Promoter Score.
Okay.
So was it that someone, so if you think about it, Cigna from a business perspective was looking at how can we generate Net Promoter Score, because oftentimes the people who have the resilience challenges may not cost the most from a dollar perspective. And so, but Net Promoter Score becomes very important.
Absolutely.
So that's actually how we went about measuring and had some really good experience outcomes. That doesn't negate the self-reported pieces that come into play on, yes, I'm feeling better, yes, I feel like I'm progressing. You could have your PHQ 9, 2, 9, etc. that can help evaluate. But still, I actually feel like that's a hugely untapped space in behavioral is with all the technology. Yeah. We really need to be able to figure out how to solve diagnosis and measurement so much better.
We really do. I'll keep an eye out for some companies that are doing that and send them your way. When you say NPS, what score are you looking at? So what score makes you feel warm and fuzzy?
So the Net Promoter Score is a defined score that says if you rate someone on a scale of 1 to 10 from, I believe I don't remember the exact question, but would you refer someone? Yeah. We really look at the promoters. Yeah. The 9 or 10.
So you're looking at the 9, 10s?
Yes. Okay. That's what we're focused on.
Okay. Got it. Well, founders, now you know what you need to do. Stick in an NPS tracker in there and start to build your product towards that. I think that's such a great, simple, elegant solution to what's been really a tough problem to solve. Happify is one example. Any other example?
So another company who's not here is Prevail that we've partnered with, and they do some cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's a digital cognitive behavioral therapy. that actually has some peer coaching. So one of the things that, if you think about what Cigna's trying to do, is we have 14 million customers, give or take, who access our behavioral health solution. And so these customers have all different types of needs, from very, very severe behavioral and substance use conditions where they're in facilities,
right,
lifetime potentially, or just period of time, to what I was saying on a resiliency. Our objective is to provide as many options to meet people where they are.
Okay.
So a lot of pieces that I like about Prevail, or I like about Happify, or some of the others that we're in the process of talking to, is they meet the needs in a unique way. Because of those 14 million, it's not cookie cutter. It's not, let's go brick and mortar anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the nice place. When I think of point solutions that come in and say, I can offer a solution in this particular way, what I'm actually looking for is, how can you create a nice complement, or how can you be a part of a nice complement? Because when I think about, especially for Cigna, we're definitely not saying, oh, we can build it by ourselves, we can do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
We know we need to be a really good partner to really good innovative thinkers.
And what's missing, as I'm sure you get a lot of deals that come your way, where do you feel there's just not enough innovation happening other than the diagnostic piece that you mentioned?
So I think there's some interesting spaces. I've seen a few that are looking at, how can we complement or do therapy? I won't say the name of the company, but for example, therapy with a bot. So how do you begin to do something that can say, if it's very basic stuff, you can lower the cost, still have the interaction? Interesting thought. Another area is really that integration between behavioral and medical.
Okay.
So if you think about, one of my biggest challenges is, you have the medical space, you have all these providers, and you have the behavioral space. And for right now, in a lot of ways, unless you have a very progressive practice, never the two shall meet.
That's right.
And so you'll often hear medical providers say, if I find someone who has a condition, I don't know where to refer them to. I don't know where to take them. I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
And so part of, when I think about how to evolve that space, the challenge with that space is it's not a technology-only play. Mm-hmm. And so how do you find that right mix of, and that's a true partnership space, how do you try to find the right mix of partners to be able to advance that medical and behavioral overlap and combination, and then being able to add in things like pharmacy, disability, other pieces.
Absolutely. There's a lot of opportunity for sure for innovation there. Any parting advice for innovators out there that are looking to partner with Cigna? What irritates you when you see deals coming in that you wish they wouldn't do this? What are your top 3 pet peeves, and then what do you recommend?
So I think if I had to pick 3, and I may not have 3, but from a few pet peeve perspectives, number 1 is not respecting or understanding all the stakeholders that are in play. So being able to understand that there are customers, your patients, that you've got your providers, you have payers, you have behavioral providers. So I think there's one that's just, who are the stakeholders? I think number 2 is just doing basic research on how does the business work. So an understanding of, how would I come in and fit into this?
Right. Unless
you're going to come in from a perspective that says, I just want to talk and figure out how to make it work. But if you're truly going to pitch a deal, understand how the basics. You don't have to be an expert. Understand the basics of how to work. And then number 3, being able to really identify, how does your solution have this ripple effect of value? So in what you do, how is that what you do can impact this, which can have value here, can impact this, which has value here. So if I had to give one piece of advice to some of the founders that you're talking about, it's number 1, do not give up in this space. Go hard at this space.
Thank you for saying that.
It absolutely needs attention,
yes.
And we need really creative thinking.
Yes.
And even the pieces that I said from if you can shift, I welcome someone who will one day come to me and say, I have a behavioral health solution. I'm going to take those 3 things you just said, and I'm going to totally shift your paradigm on thinking. That would be a really creative solution.
I love it. On that shot, thank you so much, Eva. I really appreciate your time. Have a fun time tonight.
Thank you.